I want to bring in JoJo Drake Kalin, who organized that event, and her husband, Yoni River Kalin, who was inside the museum lobby when all of this was unfolding. Both of them interacted with the suspect. I want to thank you both. I can't even imagine what this has been like. So, Yoni, how are you guys holding up?
How are we holding up?
I mean, we just always want to start any of these conversations with, we're still alive and breathing, and 2 people lost their lives, and every life contains a universe, and their families are feeling this far and wide. So I want to take a moment to say, may their memories be a blessing, to Sarah and to Yaron. So that first and foremost. And we were just saying to each other, I mean, we were only engaged, we've been married a little under 3 years, and you almost left at the same time they left. So
it could have been me.
Yeah. So we just aren't taking anything for granted, and our heart goes out to the victims' families.
JoJo, take me back to that moment of the shooting. What happened? What did you see, hear? What did you do?
Yeah, so I actually was in the elevator, so I didn't hear the shooting or the guns go off. But when the elevator doors opened, there was commotion, there was a frenzy, but it wasn't yet alarmist state. Yeah. People didn't think shooting. We're at a Jewish org, at a Jewish venue, sponsored by a Jewish org, at a Jewish event. It was like, we thought it was DC crime, I guess. We weren't putting all the pieces together yet. So what I observed is they were locking the doors.
And essentially they were starting to initiate security protocol. So the guards and museum staff were bringing everybody away from the front doors, bringing people into the corner that's away, closing the blinds, locking the doors. At the same time, people that left the event briefly came back in. And this is actually when the now shooter and suspect came into the building. At this time, his face was quite in a state of shock. He was pale. Shooting 2 people definitely doesn't sit well with anybody's conscience. So, unbeknownst to all of us, we didn't realize that he was a shooter at this time. People were checking in on him. Are you okay? Were you shot? We thought he was a bystander in what we thought was larger DC crime. People brought him water, making sure that he was okay.
Yeah, I actually immediately could tell his parasympathetic nervous system was so dysregulated. My natural instinct is, I'm an empath. Are you okay? Can I bring you water? He says yes. And so then the last thing I did before he brandished the keffiyeh was I had just handed him the cup of water.
Yeah. So essentially what happened is about 5-10 minutes after he enters the museum, the cops start to enter the space. He immediately walks up to the cop. He turns himself in. He says, I did this for Gaza. And he starts his Free Palestine chant. Free Palestine, there's only one solution, Intifada revolution. And what I think is really important, and what I want to talk about here, is the irony of this murder in cold blood, is that this event the AJC hosted was between Israel Aid and the Multi-Faith Alliance. And their whole initiative is bringing together Palestinians on the ground, Israeli aid NGOs, and people from Christian, Muslim, and Jewish faiths to come up with logistical solutions to the aid distribution problems that are happening in Gaza today. So we just spent hours talking about delivering aid to the people in need. How can we find ways around some of these logistical solutions, making sure aid doesn't end up in the hands of Hamas and actually gets to the people that need it? And this man just assumed and whitewashed this entire event because we're Jews or because we're associated with Israel. We're automatically deserving of a horrific crime, and 2 people lost their lives. And those 2 people were very much involved with trying to implement these solutions. And the irony is not lost on me. It's a horrific execution style murder that he committed.
JoJo, I know you didn't know the victims personally, but you know more broadly the people who are involved in this very important effort. So can you speak to what is lost? And also, I wonder if there is a sense of fear for people to get involved after something like this happens.
It's a wonderful question. So the event happens annually, and we brought together 30 plus embassies were represented at the event, from all the way from the Embassy of Jordan to the Embassy of Guatemala, when we covered all the continents. And so a very diverse crowd. It was not all just Jewish young professionals. And my answer to this is, I'm going to stay true to what my intentions and desires were with bringing these speakers in and making the theme of the event turning pain into purpose. And that is, I wanted to counter the us versus them narrative that, if it enrages, it engages. And that's so often what we're hearing in the news. And there's other stories to be told. There is bridge building happening, and trust is a rare commodity in the Middle East. And what the initiative, the MENA Aid Coalition is doing is not going to create a new Middle East, but it's a step in the right direction. And so I'm going to remain undeterred, and I hope sharing our story inspires others to remain undeterred, and we're not going to let terrorists win, and we're not going to lose our humanity over this. We understand he is not representative of all Palestinians, nor all Gazans, and that at the end of the day, we need to still find our shared humanity, and Israelis and Palestinians deserve self-determination, and Jews deserve to gather at events and not fear for their lives. And so I think someone asked me earlier today in another interview, are you not going to use Jewish spaces anymore? And I was like, it's not all or nothing. I don't think that is the answer, but I do think there'll be more hypervigilance and questions around security. But I know that the Capitol Museum is working. They just got another investment to increase. Just 23 hours ago, the news
That's
broke.
the other irony. 23 hours, you get a grant for security, and then within 24 hours, there's a double homicide. So
now we understand even more why they got it.
Yeah, and just for the record, I think the security officers did an amazing job checking people in and doing their job. I think this was really a shooter protocol, and we thought the threat was outside, and it was. Thank God the shooter didn't bring a weapon inside, and thank God his backpack didn't have anything devious, because we did spend, 10, close to 12, 15 minutes with this guy, not knowing what he had done. And one thing I want to comment on is that we all thought this was just another protester. Every Jewish event, every synagogue, every Jewish community center, we're used to this by now, having pro-Palestinian protesters. And, that's a First Amendment right. Freedom of speech is America's core. So that wasn't strange to us. I think it was when we started looking at the video footage, the security footage, we started piecing together what had happened and hearing from cops that people were injured, is when things started to get a little scary. And this was not just a typical protest. This was a intentional act of terrorism and murder of two very innocent people. And our hearts go out, our prayers go out to the families. We want to tell this story, and we hope that this allows us to bridge build. We're not going to give up. We're going to keep bringing together coalitions of Muslims, Jews, and Christians and other religions, and we're going to keep trying to find solutions to help the people that need it. This is not going to deter us. If anything, this is going to empower us to move forward.
In fact, Jojo, as someone who is dedicated to this, dedicated to bridge building, dedicated to helping the Palestinian people, you later said that you felt like when you interacted with the suspect, you looked evil in the eye. How do you even process what you've been through?
To be honest, I think right now we haven't taken the time. I don't think it's set in or we've embodied it yet. We're running on adrenaline, and right now it feels cathartic to share this story. And so I might have to get back to you. I don't know, but I keep thinking about, oddly, the Parkland students. We're 30, our frontal lobes are developed. We didn't see the shootings. And so I keep thinking about the magnitude of scale of other people who've witnessed tragedy. And but what I come back to is the CEO of IsraAid, Yotan, coins a phrase, post-traumatic growth. So I'm hoping we'll find that out of this versus post-traumatic stress. So
what you did before this and the words you have spoken after are inspirational to everyone who cares about humanity. Jojo, Kaylin, Yoni Kaylin, I thank you so much for taking the time to share your story.
Thank you for telling it.